Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to say this because I literally only uploaded my first video, and within the first 3 views, somebody's already under my comments trying to get super loud. I'm gonna tell you right now, like I said before in my last video, I agree with some of the things that he said. I disagree with some of the things that he said. If you are one of his fans or one of the people that watch him and expect me to sit on this entire video and just agree with everything he said, you might as well get off my video right now. If y'all come in my comments with that stupid shit, you will be blocked. So if I see stupid shit in my comments, you will be blocked. And it's just that simple. I don't got time for the nonsense because none of this is that serious. Any of y'all little fans that's in my comments doing the absolute most, it's entertainment at the end of the day. So bring it down a couple notches. So let's go to where we was at. So then we get on to the part of, I guess, when they apparently there was some video going around. I told y'all I don't pay attention to this man. When I see his name, I just keep going. I don't really pay attention. But apparently there was some video about him calling Sweetie a 6, I guess, on like a scale, and he said no, but I called her an adjustable 6. And he said he bases women on like a fresh face, like how do you look with like no makeup, no nothing on, or whatever the case may be. And I mean, we're not in high school, so I don't sit up here and rate people 1 through 10 because I'm no longer like in middle or high school. Either you're attractive to me or you're not, or you know, you're kind of in the middle. It's just kind of like that simple to me. I think that Sweetie is a very beautiful girl, but that's my opinion. If he feels like she's a 6, then that's his opinion. I'm pretty sure Sweetie is not checking for a Kevin Samuels. I just find it a little odd, I guess. Not odd, but I don't know, maybe it just rubs me a little weird that a 52-year-old is sitting up here and judging. How old is Sweetie? How old is Sweetie? Yeah, Sweetie's the same age as me, like a 27-year-old. Like, not that that age group is that age gap is like significant, but I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, stick to the people, like y'all talking about Halle Berry, stick to the people within your age range. I just think that that's just, I don't know, it's just off. Because that, like, I'm not even looking at it from him. I'm just looking at it from a regular ass, if I seen a regular 52-year-old trying to talk to a 27-year-old, that would already make me like, oh, no, thank you. Anyway, so that's that on that. He said that Pam, all his references is from the 70s and the 80s. It was killing me, okay? He talked about how he said Pam Grier is an 8, which people on Twitter were blown by that. Pam Grier is an 8. Pam Grier is a 10. She get 10s across the board. 10s, 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 10s. But again, I'm not mad at somebody else's opinion. Like, that's his opinion. Like, just like people don't think he's a number 5 or a number 6, and probably people look at him and think he's a 1 or a 2, and that's their opinion too. I don't get mad at other people's opinions. Like, it's just your opinion. I don't really know how that whole conversation was brought up about her. The only thing I could really see people saying is that like it's unwarranted. Like, if it just smooth came out of nowhere, then why are you picking on Sweetie? But I did not see that clip, so I don't know how that whole conversation even came up. But yeah. Then he talked about how, you know, the old age thing where men be like, oh, I just like you in your natural state, and I just like you with everything natural or whatever. And then somebody was like, but then women will say, you know, but that's not who it is that y'all choose to be with, and or like, and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a half and half to that. I feel like for me, I don't wear any makeup. When I get on this camera, and it's not like a conscious thing. It's just that my mom didn't wear makeup, so I didn't grow up in a household where I saw that happen, so I don't wear makeup. You know, sometimes I wear like extensions and stuff, but I've been on this camera, as y'all seen, plenty of times. Like a couple weeks ago, I was on here with just my hair out. I feel like when it comes to, he didn't talk about this, so I'm not referencing him when I say this. This is a separate point. I think that when some black men talk about black women in their hair, I think that is a conversation that they're not nuanced enough in a lot of times. Not everybody, but I feel like a lot of black men are not really nuanced enough to really understand or talk about our hair, why we wear it the way that we do. I think it gets a little bit more complicated than people think. It's just us trying to look like a white woman. It's way deeper than that. So yeah, that's that on that. I do understand when women say that, you know, you guys say that you want natural, but then that's not who you are liking. And it is true. And he can say, well, oh, that's not that big of a deal. It's just liking and stuff like that. I mean, that's not what he said, but that was the gist of what he was saying. It's like, you know, that's just liking stuff. And, you know, and oh, that's what he said. He said, yeah, but are those type of women like getting married and getting rings on their fingers? A lot of them they are. A lot of them they are. And not only that, but a lot of the women who do look natural, they really don't get the praise and everything like that. I think when women say that, I think what they're saying is like, it's about representation pretty much at the end of the day. I think that's when where a lot of women are coming from. Like if I'm a kid now, if I'm like a teenage girl now, or I'm in middle school, from what I see, having the frontal and the big ass and the small waist and all of that, that is what I would aspire to be as far as looking, because that's what it seems like guys want. And social media plays a big part into that. Now, if we seen more of the Issa Rae's uplifted versus the, I don't know, throwing whatever, what's the one girl's name? Well, I don't know, throw in any Instagram model girl you want to. You get what I'm saying? If Issa Rae was held and hearkened a little bit more by men, since you say that we care so much about what y'all think, then you know what I mean? It just kind of balances out. I don't know. It gets complicated. He also says that, well, I don't know. It pretty much was back to what he said earlier, which is like, you can't have certain stipulations and then be like all picky on how you want to act. Like, I don't even really know how to explain it because my notes aren't good here. He also said that women can curse men out at higher rates than men can. I don't know that to be a fact or not. Do women curse men out? Yeah, but that's because it's not really a that's because. Yeah, I guess so. I guess, but yeah, I guess we do. We curse y'all out. Yeah, that's a fact. Again, he's talking about, you know, all we ask is for y'all to be nice and cooperative, and we're not asking for anything else. I think that's you, but I think a lot of men want way more than us to just be nice and cooperative. You want nice, cooperative, a freak, but not too much of a freak. Good cook, do all of this. So it's not really just nice and cooperative, although maybe that's what you want, and that's okay if that's what you're looking for. Understandable. I did agree when he talked about when women like willingly have children. Like, well, he said, like, I think that as a woman you need to be accountable when you go to full term, when you have a baby and you have that baby willingly and you're not married, then you got to deal what comes with that. Now, I agree with that, except take out the marriage part, because you can be married to a shitty ass person and a shitty ass father. I think you are accountable when you keep having children by ain't shit men, period. Married, unmarried. That I do agree with her. I'm actually an advocate for that. I can't stand a woman who will sit up there, have a baby by a man, talk about how he ain't shit, how he ain't this, how he ain't that, and then turn around and have another baby by that nigga. That irks me to the highest. It irks me because, and then we'll turn around and complain about him not doing his responsibility. But girl, you knew that coming into the situation and you still decided to have this baby. So who is that on, girl? You knew he wasn't going to do right, but you kept the baby anyway. Make it make sense, sis, to me. So I agree with that wholeheartedly, okay? But yeah, I do agree. And Ish also said, you know, he said, but at the same time, he was like, you know, the reason why, you know, what was he saying? He was like, pretty much talking about the reason why, like, women move as far as, like, doing what it is that they got to do for themselves is because of absentee fathers. Because they was talking about, you know, how black women in particular, we just kind of move as if we moving for ourselves and we don't worry about this person and that person. We just kind of worry about ourselves. And Ish was like, I mean, that's true, but we grew up in an absentee father household. Now, I'm going to speak for me. I grew up with a father in the household. I had a 2-parent household. My parents are married. So that's where my experience and my background is coming from, okay? And so let me see. So again, so yeah, they bring up the whole thing again about the family and, you know, about the when the grandparents back in the day and how the grandfather could have a whole family, but you know, Meemaw didn't say anything. She just sat there and she took it and nobody found out until afterwards. And I already went on my whole rant about that. We talked about dating outside of each other's race. Now, I don't have the statistics on this, so I can neither deny or confirm anything that this man said. But he did bring up a good point when he said, he said that the average, I think he said like 80 something % of black men do date like within their race. It's literally just like 14% that doesn't. And he said it's actually more hyper visible through like entertainment, because in entertainment and rap and sports and stuff like that, yes, it is much more it's the opposite. It's way more black men being married to white women and stuff like that. And so I agree with that. I mean, I don't know, but I can see that being the case. Where I live, there are a lot of there's a lot of biracial kids. But I will say, on average, most black men that I know do have a black girlfriend. Most men that I know. Let me see. How many people do I know? I know one. He got a white girlfriend. He like white girls. No, black. He like white girls. 3 off the top of my head. But that's out of a lot of men that I know. So I can kind of probably see his point. There probably is a little bit more hyper vigilant, because that's what happens. Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe once you hit a certain threshold, you just feel like that's a whole other conversation for another day. Anyway, so then he talks about, I didn't even know that this man was divorced twice, which is probably why they really dig into his ass now, because I didn't even know that. So I can see from somebody else's point of view, like, nigga, you're divorced twice, but you're trying to tell me what I need to do in a relationship. Make that make sense. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I can see that point of view. Then he talks about sex or whatever, and they pretty much talk about how women think that the older that they get, the more like they'll be like attracted, the more high value men, high value man, I guess, that they will attract, because you know, they're a little bit older and they're a little bit more established. They have a little bit more money, but they're all trying to say like money doesn't raise your worth, you know, to a man, which I'm not a man, so I can't speak to that. I will say though that at least in my generation, most men do expect you to have maybe not a lot of money, but at least enough money to take care of yourself. And I'm only speaking for my generation. So I can't speak for everybody else that's older, but I know for mine's, most dudes, most men, they expect you as a woman. It's actually more expected of a woman to have her own things than it is a man. And I'm talking about at my age bracket, which is 25, 26, 27. That's that little age bracket that I'm in right there. So yeah. So they was like, I guess they were talking about how like a woman who has like a lot of money and stuff like that, or she's doing well enough for herself, how she doesn't want a man who has less than her. I think that depends on the situation. If the women that I'm gonna assume they're talking about, which is women who make a decent amount. So if you're a woman and you make like, let's say you make like $100,000 a year, it's not impossible for you to find a man that's gonna make that. But I don't know if you'll get that and everything else you want at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it depends. That's a it depends situation. He also pretty much said like, you women, y'all want these certain men, but are y'all willing to make the changes to get them in? And I don't want to say I agree with that, but I understand that thinking. Like, if you are a woman and you make like, let's say you make like $40,000 a year, but you want a man who makes like $500,000 a year or something like that. If you want to do that, you're going to have to understand that there are certain things that you probably are going to have to change about yourself. You're going to have to compromise. You're going to have to let go if you want to be with that man. Now, if you don't want to give up all of those things, then that's not the man for you. And if that is Kevin Samuel's point, I wholeheartedly understand and I get that. He talks about how men are more long-term and women are not. I think, again, that's not necessarily true because most of the men that I know can't plan for tomorrow, and that's why the majority of them are in jail. Okay. Okay. But he did say at the end is when he kind of like started to put a little bit more onus on the men. He was like, women at the end of the day, they're afraid like to depend on their men. And I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. A lot of women, the reason why we even like make sure that we have our own money, we make sure that we have our own this. And I would like to also say, since he's talking about before, your grandmas and great grandmas and stuff, they was married for a long time. But y'all need to know, because they don't have conversations with y'all. Those are the women that are telling us to get our own things. My grandmother is 68 years old. She's the one who told me, make sure you got your own stuff. And she's a married woman. My other great aunt, who's 72 years old, she has always told me, make sure you get your own. So don't make it seem, I don't want to say don't make it seem, but don't get it twisted and think that it's just new age people that's thinking that. We are literally being told from women who came before us, make sure you have your own so that you don't have to rely on a man, so that you get the man that you want versus the man. There we go. You get the man that you actually want versus you just having a man that you need. Okay? And there's a difference between wanting and needing. Okay? It's two different things. That love is different. It's a different type of love. Okay? And so he, but he said pretty much, like, as men, like he said, this is where I go in on men, like we need to like be more responsible, because the reason why women are even, acting the way that they are is because they don't feel like they can depend on us. And like he said, we need to show versus just talking about what we're going to do. We need to actually show up. Be that type of person that you can be leaning on. And as far as the submission part, I've always said to anybody that will talk to me about relationships, both people need to be submissive. Both people need to be submissive when it comes to relationship. It's like it needs to be like a yin and yang thing. It can't be more on this side than it is the other. And I do believe that quote that I see on Facebook all the time, which is women will submit to a man. It just got to be the right one. You got to do the right things. Okay. And submission is not always a bad thing too. I think a lot of women, like they look at that word as something bad. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because again, you submit to your husband submits to you. To me, I feel like submission is more like a vulnerability thing. So if you guys can both do that with each other, I get that wholeheartedly. Oh man. What else did he say? They talked real quickly about working with women, and again, he pretty much said that men need to kind of get it together, and pretty much that as black men, we need to give them something to respect, and a lot of the things that we do, we don't. And so he pretty much was like, I put the onus, on black men. As much as I go on black women, I put the onus on black men to step the fuck up. And I agree with him. So that's just pretty much my whole take on it. So like I said, I agreed with some of the stuff that he said. I disagreed with some of the stuff he said. I don't think that he's a terrible person. I think that he is a 52-year-old man who has lived a certain life and seen certain things. And this is his POV. I'm not here to bash him or to talk down on him or to say don't watch him. If you want to watch him, watch him. The only thing I say is don't get in my comments on no stupid shit. But y'all go ahead and do what y'all want to do. From that interview alone, he's not the worst person in the world. I've seen a whole lot of like worse people. Like I said, some of the things I didn't agree with him on, some of the things I did agree with him on. And that's just life. Some things you agree with, some things you don't. And some things you guys won't agree with what I said and vice versa. So yeah, that's just that on that, y'all. I'm done. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.